Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Paste Studios in the Manhattan Center in Manhattan, New York. Today, we are overjoyed to have John Vanderslice in the studio with us. Welcome.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm really happy to be here.
All right. Well, before we launch into the first song, what are you going to start off with?
Well, can I personally say that I really like you and that it's really nice to talk to you?
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
It's just the truth. I'm gonna play "I'll Wait" for you. Let me actually get the title of the song I'm gonna play correct. It's called "I'll Wait for You." It's on the Cedars.
Awesome. Take it away.
Okay, here we go. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. It's nothing you can't get through. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. Just stay strong, stay true. It's a miracle I'm not a drug addict. It's a shame I'm still hard at it. But damn, it sure took you. I got you into this, and I can't get you out of this. I'm always gonna use. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. It's nothing you can't get through. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. Just stay strong, stay true. Bring home that 12-step shit. I'll sink that ship. What else can I do? On the edge of bankruptcy, on the fringes of legality, that's where I'll be. It's a miracle I'm not a drug addict. But you know me, I'm still hard at it. But damn, it sure took you. I loved you, it's true. But there's a big part of me I stashed away from you. That last clean hit, that good shit. By the way, I'm clapping for my own song. It feels like if there's only 4 of us that I don't want to lose 25% of the audience power by not clapping.
Well, that was great.
Thank you, my friend.
Let's hop into a few questions about the new album. The Cedars came out a month ago, or about a month ago, on Native Cat Records.
It did.
A local and amazing label from San Francisco.
Yeah.
And so to kind of start things off, after your 10th record, you announced that you were retiring from making solo music.
Yes.
So this was your 11th record. What kind of happened in the meantime?
Actually, Stephen, to give me credit, I didn't announce I was retiring because I thought it was kind of in bad taste to announce it. Because people asked me, are you going to make another record again? And then I kind of deliberated and said, no, I don't think so. But you know when people announce they're retiring, there's so much good art, no one cares. Do you know what I mean? I never for a second thought that it mattered, which was kind of cool, made it easier. And you know what made it easier was being part of the studio and seeing so many good records being made. And it made me think, you know what, it's time to just produce records, help people make good records. You made 10 records, that's enough. You don't have to keep making albums, you know. And then I got very So I started just producing records, and then I had a mental health crisis, to put it mildly, and went crazy, and then was kind of offered the opportunity by Native Cat to make a record. And I initially only said yes because it felt like a good way to employ my friends and a good way to, I don't know, the budget was like responsible, and it was available, and it would afford enough studio time with two producers, Rob Shelton being one of them, and Myrna, who's a genius and who I worship, and you love Myrna. And the other one was Jamie Riotto, a guy who I had been talking to about making a record for 5 years. So it felt like this opportunity that I would never, ever get again. And I knew that we would be hiring session musicians and oboe players and string players. And so I just said yes without the desire to make art at all.
So what was it like going back into the studio once again?
It was, in the beginning, it was really unpleasant. It was like it was like, imagine if you like have devoted your life to like eating like Twizzlers 24 hours a day, and then you have to go like on a marathon run. Do you know what I mean? Like, my body was so not into being. When you sit down to write, it's a very unpleasant dialogue that you have with yourself. I mean, you're looking at a dumb blank piece of paper, and like, you know, we're all relatively smart. We know the history of rock and roll. We know how good music should be if you're going to release it. Am I allowed to cuss? Cool. Thank you, Brad. Brad says fuck yeah, so that means I can cuss. And so I think that I've always taken that seriously. Like, I don't want to make records that I would not want to listen to, and that I wouldn't want to get stoned and listen to, and that I wouldn't want to like put on. It needs to hold up to a certain level. And like, so the first stuff we started doing in the studio was terrible. Like, you're not in shape. You haven't like fired those neurons. You haven't, you need to write a lot of songs to get one or two good songs. So I brought in tunes that were very unacceptable. I mean, if I listen to them now, I mean, there's no chance they will ever come out on any level. But I knew that they weren't going to come out because Jamie and Rob were like, on day one, they were like, these songs are terrible. like they're really direct, you know? And so it helped me knowing that they weren't going to allow me to just like slide into this album. So then I started getting like real panic, like serious, like night sweats kind of shit of like, I've got to write better stuff. I mean, you do what you have to do in any environment. Do you know what I mean? If this was Hunger Games, we'd all be killing motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. 9-year-old boy running for his life, and I get something by shooting him in the back with a crossbow, I'd probably do it. You know, like, that's just... Emily, this needs to be entertaining. I have to... My friend Emily is here shaking her head. She's heard me say all kinds of nonsense. But
So you wouldn't know it from the last song you played, but the new record is very synth heavy, and it sounds much different than really anything you've put out before.
yes, yeah.
So what kind of prompted that sound? I mean, it's one of the best sounding records I've heard all year, with
That's
just
awesome.
these gorgeous synths that are pulsating and are dark at times and really warm at others. And is that an instrument you've really ever messed around with before?
Yeah, I probably like synthesizers a lot more than guitar. Guitars are great, but guitars are you have 70 years of history of like excellent guitar work and music, and it feels like synthesizers are constantly renewable because there's synths coming out now that sound different, you know, and then the modular synths that were made in a very small window, classic modular synths, late 60s, early 70s, they sound very different than anything else. And we acquired a lot of classic stuff through a donation. So we got like a Moog Modular 3C, which we never would have been able to rent, much less own. And then we got a couple ARP 2600s and some other like really lucky stuff. And that really changed the sound of the record, getting that stuff. And it's funny, I think there's like 2 or 3 times that a guitar appears on the record, and that to me is kind of exciting, you know? I mean, guitars are just, in general, overused, and synthesizers they take up so much less space. You know, they can be like surgically applied in a way. And we used a lot of the synthesizers as drum machines. So we would generate a lot of sounds. And listen, Rob is a genius. I mean, that's part of why we were able to lean on synth so much, is that both Rob and Jamie are really, really talented players. And they can dial up sounds in a way that's really, especially Rob is like tremendously good at it. So we would use like an ARP, the ARP 2600 has a spring reverb on it, and we would use that as a percussive device. It was really good.
That's awesome. And you mentioned Rob a few times, who's in a band called Myrna, which is one of my favorite bands in the Bay Area at the moment. And a lot of people in that band are session players. Was more than, or did anyone else from the band other than Rob play on this record as well?
I think they did, not from Myrna, because we just are. I have so many players from my own band. You know, like we brought in a lot of players that had toured with me previously. And Madeline Kenny sang a lot on the record, and Sammy Perez from the She's sang a lot on the record. And my longtime drummer, Jason Slota, played a lot of the drums, and Andrew McGuire, who had played on a lot of my records. So, and John McIntyre from Tortoise, we got him in to play some stuff. So I probably now, if I made a record, I would bring Myrna in, but the queue was kind of long at that point.
And you went on tour with them, which I know was a different thing for you. In general, how they would open up and then play as your backing band.
Yes.
So how did that kind of come together?
Well, that was kind of like pitched by the label to us, and it just sounded great. We toured in one van. We stayed in Airbnbs, and we kind of tried to stay in Airbnbs that had pools as much as we could. And we had two coolers, not one, but two coolers, a 20-liter cooler and a 40-liter cooler, and we just had like the bomb food, like always snacked up. And so we would like, you know, we rented a Sprinter so we could like, I don't know, felt like it was like a roving apartment or something. Like we had like very high quality of life. And then we would go on off days, we would go hiking or go swimming, and I'm just really close to everyone in the band, and I get along with them. It was really, really fun.
That's really great.
And then they backed me up during the show. Because my rule is now my rule was previously I would not play in a rock club, and I would not play with other people. And some of that is just financial stuff. I'm like a working class touring musician, and I have to, you know, I in general make more money doing house shows, and in general I make more money if I'm not paying a lot of people on stage. And I'm not big enough to like have like what I would want would be like a 10-piece band with like woodwinds and you know what I mean? Like, I mean, who wouldn't, you know? But it was great because we kind of did double duty, and they were 2-band bills, and it was awesome.
That's amazing. Let's launch into the second song.
Okay.
What else do you have for us? I
think I'm going to play Tell Me How, but as you may be able to tell, my voice is really messed up, so we're going to see how this works. I've been fighting a cold for 5 days, and I'm not able to outrun the cold anymore. And I'm just like using my wits to sing and not cancel anything, because I think it's a profound ethical agreement that you have when you agree to do something that you follow through. So did it sound okay, believable before? Okay, cool.
Great.
I'm drinking a lot of cayenne pepper, and it's making me insane. I feel like my body is like silted with cayenne right now. I'm going to play a song called I Got Shit to Lose, which was named after a Travis Scott song, I like a lot.
Take it away.
You and me, we love rap stuff. You know what is a good? You were talking about good sounding records. I think the new Billy Woods record, produced by Kenny Siegel, sounds really good. Okay. Tell me how. Tell me how. Tell me how the world took you down. Tell me how. Tell me how. I'll do my best to give you some rest. again. I'm back from the dead. I was out of my head. Do 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 Tell me how, tell me how, tell me how the world took you down. Tell me how, tell me how. I've been terrible friend, but I'm back here again. Bravo, that was incredible. Whoa, what a performance. That's not me speaking into the mic right now.
So before we launch into the last song, we decided to do something a little different around here, which was
Yes.
actually your idea, John.
Yes.
That everyone in the studio today would write down anonymous questions.
I love it.
And so I'll ask those instead of boring questions from me. So
No, your questions are great.
to start out, and I have no idea who wrote these either. If your new record, The Cedars, was an animal, what kind of animal would it be?
Ooh, snow leopard.
Why?
Would be a snow leopard. I just think they're really pretty, and I want to pet one. And I'm sure it would just bite my face off, and that's what the Cedars did as a record. I was like, come here, my friend, and then it just devoured me over 54 days. I think snow leopards are so beautiful. I like meerkats too. Now we're talking about just animals I like. That has nothing to do with I think that one of my cats is named Clover, and I think that the Cedars is like my cat Clover, because Clover is a little timid and maybe a little private, but once you kind of slowly approach her and she's allowed to like sense that you're safe, then she becomes the most blossoming, affectionate, available, present cat that you've ever been around, and she's super fluffy. So I think that's like the record.
All right, that's a great answer. Number two, what is your favorite way to distort a vocal when mixing a song?
Oh, that's a great, I know, that's from Bob. That's a really good question. There's this mic pre that I like called, it's a Bogan RP1, and it's modified by a tech that we use in the Sierras named Skip Simmons. And there's something about the input sensitivity that pre has, that if you put a vocal directly into it, you often just it's so sensitive that even someone speaking, it will turn it into like shredded, julienned, distorted, like fragments. And it's unbelievably powerful how good the top end of that, and it has a tone knob where if you turn the tone up, the top end of that distortion just sounds wonderful. And it's so powerful that we use a series of pads on either the input or the output, and there's no other pre that has as much flexibility and distortion. I would say is the most difficult effect to get, because you really want like a really high quality distortion, and it's hard to find. But that Bogan RP1 or RP2 is unbelievable, and I own 4 of them.
And that was used throughout the record.
It's all over the Cedars. Yeah, and it's all over all my records. So like when you hear a distorted acoustic sound on anything, like White Dove, I met my new neighbor, had a drink on her veranda. It's all that distortion and guitar is like destroyed through the Bogan.
It's really cool. The next question, which I feel like I should do the voice, but I would butcher it really hard, so I'm not.
Yeah.
If the moon were made of spare ribs, would you eat it? Because Harry Carey certainly would. And then in a separate but related follow-up, rather, what are you eating and drinking on the road to keep yourself in a good frame of mind, constantly able to perform, write, sing, create, etc.?
That's awesome. Who wrote that question? That's a good question. Brad did. Yeah. I wouldn't eat the moon. I'm like mostly vegetarian. So like going up, like it feels like I would be more respectful to the moon than eating its ribs. Like, yeah, like I would feel guilty. Somehow the moon is personified to me as like a living creature, and that would, so I wouldn't do that. But I think about food all the time on tour. I will always wake up early and like research. I will triangulate in general between Google and Yelp and TripAdvisor or whatever third tier we need to super quality control the decision. Emily and I, we like every decision we make. Dinner last night was very good. We went to this Italian Miserizzi. And then we went to a coffee place that was good. Actually, my pastry was not very good. I'm not going to mention which one it was, but the coffee was fine. But I don't know. Finding food, sourcing out food when you're on tour, it's sacred. It's the most important thing because it completely, it's all you have is the performance and then the food and coffee that you consume. And so if you do it right and you respect the city, like, I don't know, I was just in Kansas City. I had unbelievable food. Then the next city was St. Louis. I got on this hot streak where like it was all good. And yeah, so I always, I have a cooler in my car. So I always have like organic orange juice and organic milk and snacks. And I insulate myself from the hard world of highway food. I will not engage in that shit ever. Could we take some questions for Twitter? I think that maybe I shouldn't play any more songs because my voice is kind of losing it, but I will be interviewed forever. Let me see if we've got anything. Okay, from Alpine Joe. We've got, what's the first rap album you really, really loved? Been listening to your 2019 playlist and it's blowing my mind. I have every year I do an indie and a rap playlist on Spotify, and it's really exciting to me when people pay attention to it because I care about that list. I curate it. I think the first rap album that changed my life was "Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back" by Public Enemy. That was a big deal, and I saw that tour, and Professor Griff opened the show with the S1W militarized police force on stage, and Professor Griff said that white people were created when the devil grafted this animal to some other animal. And I was kind of like, people were either cheering or screaming at him, and I was like, I love this. Like, I'm all into this shit. This is wild. And it was in LA, the show. It was like very intense. John, do you know if your live set from KXP is going to be posted on YouTube? That's from James. And yes, James, it will be posted. They'll email me when it's up. They had 4 video cameras in there, and it was really well recorded. I heard it after we did it. So that'll be up soon. And I'll definitely put it out on Twitter and Instagram. And then, do you have any questions? Emily, do you have a question?
I'll do one more.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, just because I know we were talking about before, and I'd love for you to go on record here. Who is your least favorite player in the NBA?
Definitely James Harden. I think that James Harden is like, first off, for a guy who's looking for contact and has learned how to get contact and grow out his beard to like extreme lengths so he can like jerk his head back when he, wants to fake contact. And he definitely gets, mauled up sometimes, but his like kind of directive is to grind the game down into like the most boring thing you could ever want as an NBA fan. And there's something about his style of play that is just very uncreative for me. I mean, he's a fucking great player, but it's very uncreative as far as like watching games and like trying to endure 2-hour basketball games. There's so many other players that, in general, I love basketball games. It doesn't have to be a marquee matchup. I like all teams. I mean, there's like the Nets are interesting to watch. There's like a lot of teams. Sacramento Kings are really good now. Like there's all kinds of like non-TNT Thursday night teams, Wednesday night teams that don't, that like are relegated to NBA TV. They're fascinating to watch, and there's all kinds of really interesting players out there. And I'm never happy watching him play. I'm just not happy doing it,
I agree with you on every single point.
Yeah.
He's my least favorite player as well. Just to wrap things up, tonight you play Music Hall
Yes.
Williamsburg with Paige Reliant.
Yeah.
What other dates do you have coming up?
We're playing in Boston at Brighton Music Hall tomorrow night, and Emily's going to come to Boston with me. That'll be awesome. Then we go into to Canada. I have a marijuana conviction on my record, so going into Canada is a problem potentially, and I just hope that goes well. I mean, it's like who gives a shit? They treat it like it's like marijuana is legal in like a third of the U.S. and in Canada, and I will hear about it. Last time I went up there, they took me in a separate room, and they searched my car. So we'll see. Hopefully, I get through.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yes.
Thank you so much once again for being here.
Yes.
Cedars just came out about a month ago via Native Cat. Go buy it, stream it at any place that has streaming or records, because I'm sure it'd be there. Thank you so much for being here once again.
Thanks for the thoughtful questions. And thank you, Brad. Thank you, Emily. And thank you, Bob.
Absolutely.
This is the best crowd that a performer could ask for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been John Vanderslice, live from the Paste Studios in Manhattan, New York, at the Manhattan Center. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.